everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Nonstop Nikhil. Today we've left the capital of Tunis, and we're in another city in Tunisia called Sousse. This town is also along the Mediterranean Sea, has an old medina or old medieval Arab city, as well as a new city, and it serves as a great starting point for many other destinations around Tunisia. So I've decided to choose this city as a great base because of its hotels and restaurants. Plenty of choices across all budgets, and then we can make stops over the next couple of days to other sites such as El Qairouan and the Gym, Monastir, all from this city. So I just got here, checked into my hotel, pretty basic 2-star hotel, dropped my stuff off, took a shower. Now I'm here to catch a couple of the hours of daylight before it gets dark. Just taking a walk around the old city, seeing what there is to explore. So it's about 4 p.m. right now, so the sun's going to be going down shortly. I was actually supposed to get here a bit earlier, around noon today. Got a little delayed because I actually stupidly got back on the tram, which travels like within Tunis, from where I was staying in Rhodes, instead of actually getting on the train, the intercity train, to come here. Because of that little mistake, we had to take the tram back to the main train station, then wait for the next train that would come down here, and then take that train, which took about 90 minutes. And we made it. So I'm saying we, not only because I'm including you as the viewers, but I also met a fellow American who was sitting next to me in the waiting room at the train station in Tunis. And he's actually from Northern Virginia. His name is Andy. He's a photojournalist who lives in Italy right now. So we spent like the ride together, went out and had lunch and all that before getting on the train to head over. He's truly an encyclopedia of knowledge about ancient civilizations, and that's what has brought him over to Tunisia. So I'm sure you'll meet him a bit later. So as I mentioned earlier in the previous video, the sun has been unusually strong here for November in Tunisia. But now, when you're in the shade of the buildings in the old city and there's the breeze from the sea right behind us, the weather is perfect. Now we're entering the shopping or souk area of the old city, as you can see. Some of the stores are pretty much selling the same things. Got tourist souvenirs, Western clothing, traditional clothing, household goods. Doesn't really seem like this particular souk is specializing in one particular type of good, but there's pretty much everything going on here. Definitely not as crowded as the one in Tunis we saw yesterday, or ones you might have seen in Morocco. So just sat down to grab some tea. Specifically ordered it without the ton of sugar in it. Although everyone suggested that I don't visit Sousse, given that it's where most tourists go due to all the resorts nearby and its location along the coast, I decided to come here mostly to use it as a starting point for the other day trips I would like to do in the region. It's a lot easier to leave from Sousse than to leave from Tunis. Despite that, the city itself has a lot of history going for it. Chronologically, the city's history has seen stages of rule by the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians, the Romans, the Byzantines, then the Christians, then the Arab conquests. And it's really these invading Arab conquests which... الشاي جاهز من غير سكر, without sugar, and I got one of the sweets. Perfect amount of sweetness. As I was saying, it's really these Arab conquests which have made an imprint on the city's architecture. The city has a ribat, which is known for, and the ribat is essentially a fortress combined with a minaret. Ribat in Arabic literally means front lines. So this was where sentries would stand watch for their enemies in order to protect the cities, and so in this case the Arab medieval city of Sousse. The sentries who stood guard in defense of their medieval cities were known as murabitun, those who lie in wait, as one might call them. One thing Andy and I were talking about was just how relaxing it is to be able to speak as we would in the US again with each other. A lot of people who do not speak other languages and do not travel don't understand how almost mentally taxing it can be to always be calculating what another person is saying if it's not your first language, and then speak to people, long conversations, always surrounded by people as I was in my host family, which was a fabulous experience. But I know with the four brothers, two parents, there's always someone there, someone around you. They want to make conversation, get to know you, and you want to do the same. But I know for me, straining my ears to understand the Tunisian Arabic and then having to always speak in Arabic when I'm not used to speaking in Arabic on a daily basis, it can be tough. That said, I would trade nothing for the privilege that I have to be able to speak Arabic and French and have these kind of conversations with everyone that I meet while I travel. The prevalence of these cafes on every street corner, or actually like 3 or 4 of them on every street corner, is actually a great benefit for the traveler. Provides you some time to sit down, relax, catch up on your thoughts and your plans, take a look at your phone, figure out exactly what you want to do for the next couple hours. This part of the old city is suddenly very beautiful, residential, with some galleries here and there. You can see some graffiti. So I'm just kind of following the path and seeing where it goes. I know I left the cafe with the intent of heading out of the old city since we've been checking out old cities over the past 2 days. But right now, I don't really mind this. So behind me you see a hammam. A hammam is essentially a public bath, and it's written on the plaque the specific times in the mornings to the early afternoon for men, and from the late afternoon to the evenings for women. So this is actually a holdover from the public baths that you would have had in the Roman times. You see these public baths everywhere where the Romans ruled, and it really makes sense. You know, not everyone would have running water, hot water, enough for a shower in their homes, and so there would be a communal place where the neighborhood people could come and bathe and meet, and that in and of itself would turn into a social tradition. That social tradition still continues until today, with each neighborhood having a hammam that people use on perhaps a weekly basis now that they have bathing facilities in their homes. To show you how much of a living place this old city still is, this is actually a gym right behind me. Now I've got to find my way out of here. Literally a zigzag of small alleyways in this old city, but each one has something new, something to discover. Walking through Sousse's old city definitely reminds me of when I used to live in Meknes's old city in Morocco while I was studying there about 10 years ago. I mean, it's definitely easy to romanticize life in the old city, but sometimes it's very impractical. For example, if you want to get anywhere, you've got to first go through the maze of streets and then go find your transportation, which can take you to other parts of town. And then even if you want to come back, it can get pretty dark at night. There isn't the infrastructure to really build street lights, so you can see where you're going at night, or just really quickly get transport if in case of emergencies. You have to always account the time and the effort to walk through the streets before you can really do anything. Until very recently, Sousse pretty much only comprised of this walled Arab city. There were some settlements, but they were very much outside of the city. Only in the 20th century, under French colonization, was there really investment in building a city outside of the medieval city. And with the investment of building a more colonial French-style city outside of the old city walls, you get this modern, more Western city, tree-lined with grand boulevards and convenient for automobiles. Right now, I'm at Human Rights Square, Sahat Hukuk al-Insan, just outside Sousse's old city. On the placard you see a lot of keywords such as Harriya, freedom, Al-Karama, dignity, Al-Adala, justice, Al-Musawa, equality. And this is as good as a time as any to talk about the Arab Spring. You might know that the demonstrations which characterized the Arab Spring in 2011 actually started here in Tunisia. The spark which set start to the Arab Spring was actually the self-immolation of a vegetable cart seller in December 2010. The seller was humiliated by a police officer who confiscated all of his produce and cart, and his self-immolation started riots all around the country, which later spread all around the Middle East and resulted in the overthrow of many dictators, including Tunisia's own longtime president Ben Ali. The result of the riots and the eventual ouster of the president here in Tunisia was a return to democracy. However, the issues and themes which the people were protesting against have not been solved. The corruption exists, the inflation, the economic crisis all still exist, high unemployment exists based on the large amount of people you see sitting in coffee shops during the day. Underemployment definitely exists. The Arab Spring did bring democracy to Tunisia. However, the democracy was in name only. The actual issues have not been able to be tackled by any change in leadership. I did ask my host family yesterday whether they actually vote in the elections, and they said yes. At least there is participation in civil society. However, if that participation is bringing change, if leaders are willing to stay in the country to work for change, to fight against the system which seems so unbreakable, were manifested. Walking on the Corniche, that's the road along the sea right here at Abu Jaafar beach. You can see there are people out, a lot of Tunisians, families out here, vendors selling snacks, people playing music. Sousse is actually a major tourist hub for Tunisia, with tourists coming for the beaches, and especially on the north coast of the city, which is right in front of me here. You'll find a lot of resorts, the whole all-inclusive setup for tourists who just come to Tunisia, stay within the resort, don't really go out and explore the culture or people, and that income doesn't really make its way out to the local economy. From a travel point of view, Tunisia really hasn't reached its potential for independent travel yet. In the 90s and before the attacks of the 2010s, Tunisia would be a big offshore destination for package travelers from Europe, especially given the proximity to France and Italy. However, that's since declined given the security situation. And though the security situation has resolved itself, travelers have not yet returned. Or if they have returned, they're all still part of the demographic which travels not independently, but stays within their resorts. And so that money doesn't trickle down to local vendors, restaurants, business owners, and the like. I will say one thing, I have seen more Russians traveling than ever before. I don't know if that's just because I'm more sensitive to where I see Russians, or if Russians are just forced to travel, restrictions on them by other nationalities to more traditionally traveled and visited places. Okay, hello everyone. Now it's dinner time and we're at Lido restaurant right on the Corniche here in Sousse. Since we're on the sea, I guess we're here at a seafood restaurant, so I've ordered the octopus couscous, and I told you about Andy, who I met at the train station in Tunis, fellow American, and also from Northern Virginia. At least spent a bunch of time there, now living
in Italy,
which is not too far away, so I guess he's closer to home.
Yeah, just 3,000 miles is all.
Now we're here at dinner, and what did you order?
I ordered the Dorado, because which is depends on which language you're using, but Dorado is, I think, either sea bass or perhaps it's mahi, but perhaps we just don't eat it in the United States.
We also got a cup of wine. We got white wine here.
I think we got more than a cup, my friend.
I think we might have accidentally ordered a bottle.
I think we got some work to do.
And also, I've got to say, there is something very unique in North Africa and having smoky restaurants with neon lights full of just men and alcohol. Definitely noticed that from when I lived in Meknes. We're going to enjoy our dinner. I'm going to show you what I got, and we'll have a good night.
I like a really dry, ridiculously dry white wine, and the king country for dry white wines is Greece. Always remember that. So if you just ask for, if you have anything from Greece.
Cheers.
Saha.
So this is my third time eating couscous, or couscousia, as they call it, in the past 2 days. But this is not couscous with fish, but couscous with octopus. And then Andy's got his fish
Dorado
dish right here. So we're going to enjoy this and then enjoy our bottle of wine. I didn't realize I ordered a bottle when I ordered a cup, but okay. So see you later.